Ward 7. Sad day in Ward 7.
Welcome to the City of Norman, Oklahoma City Council Oversight Committee meeting for Thursday, October 13th, 2022. We have two items on our agenda today. The first item is discussion regarding zoning for city parks. Take it away. Who do we got? Who we got up on this? All right.
Sarah from TSEC.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Sarah.
So
We're confused about that.
So
item number 1 is different than this.
Item 1 is zoning for city parks.
Well, I can go first if that's the first. I didn't
That
see
is the first agenda item.
Well,
We
do
can
is
switch it.
I mean, it doesn't matter. If they're up and ready to go, I guess it doesn't really matter. We're gonna come back to the other one.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, rock and roll. We're going with discussion regarding possible amendments to the smoking ordinance.
Yes.
Okay, number 2. We'll come back to number 1. Fire away.
Okay, so my name is Sarah Sancack, and this is Sarah Bloom. And we are here, yes, the two Sarahs. We're here to present on a Norman tobacco-free city-owned property policy. So we are with the Healthy Living Program through TSET. We just work on, we work in Cleveland County to prevent cancer and cardiovascular disease by reducing tobacco use and obesity at a local level. So we're out in the community. We work with city leaders, school leaders. So we're here today to present on the tobacco-free city-owned properties. So what does this policy entail? It prohibits smoking and the use of tobacco products and or vapor products on all outdoor city-owned and operated property. And so right now, the two properties that are city-owned that are still that allow tobacco use is the Westwood Golf Course and parking lots and playgrounds. So why do we want to pass a tobacco-free policy? Well, as you know, tobacco use is the #1 preventable cause of death in the U.S. Tobacco use kills more than 7,500 Oklahomans every year. Tobacco smoke is harmful, which contains 250 chemicals and at least 69 known carcinogens. Tobacco causes cancer, heart disease, and respiratory illnesses. And in Oklahoma, more than 21% of adults smoke. So every year we spend about $3.7 billion or $1,272 per adult on smoking-related healthcare costs and lost productivity.
is that in Oklahoma alone or nationwide?
Nationwide. So just to continue on that, to be tobacco-free, it will demonstrate to your community that you care about the health of its citizens and employees. Secondhand smoke is hazardous to your health. So thinking about parking lots of playgrounds, while you may be in your car away from the actual park, obviously the secondhand smoke will blow into the park to the playground. Also, we have a lot of youth, and there's a junior league at the golf course, and so we just want to make sure we're preventing secondhand smoke with our youth also. There's wide support. More than 81% of Oklahomans want cities and towns to adopt smoke-free policies for all workplaces, and at least 52 Oklahoma communities have passed tobacco-free ordinances. And finally, litter from tobacco products is harmful to children, pets, and the environment. So thinking about the golf course, a lot of employees have talked about having to pick up litter from tobacco products out on the golf course, and then of course, tobacco products, there's probably litter in the parking lots and playgrounds. So just to reiterate, introducing tobacco-free public places in your community will contribute to a reduction in exposure to secondhand smoke, educate the community on the dangers of smoking, support current smokers to quit, and promote healthy lifestyle choices. So a couple of entities and communities that are tobacco-free: Norman Regional, the University of Oklahoma, Norman Public Schools, Moore Norman Technology Center, Cleveland County, Edmond, and more. So here's just a little bit of some more information on the different communities that have passed a tobacco-free policy. Cleveland County passed a policy in 2016 that TSET helped them with. Edmond passed a tobacco-free policy in October of 2021. Moore passed one in 2019, and in 2015, Oklahoma City Council approved tobacco-free in parks and on other city-owned property. And here's some more just visuals of signs that are located at Norman Regional and the University of Oklahoma, and then two news articles indicating that Norman Public Schools is tobacco-free, as well as the Moore Norman Technology Center. So the benefit of passing a tobacco-free policy will make Norman eligible for the Healthy Incentive Grants for communities. So this TSET Healthy Incentive Grant is designed to help municipalities adopt and implement practices to improve the health and quality of life for their residents. So this would include tobacco-free environments, access to healthy foods, and physical activity opportunities. So with the grant money, you can use this for community parks, walking trails, farmer market venues, gardens, anything that will promote physical activity and, of course, tobacco-free environments. So the updated tobacco ordinance would make Norman eligible for $100,000. And so there are two application periods that are open, November 1st through November 30th, and March 1st through March 31st. So we'd love to try to get this tobacco ordinance updated before the November application closes, but we can also, we can always try again in March, but I'd love to see.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
It's not possible for us to update it by November 1st, right?
The final reading would be the 3rd, 4th.
It'd be before Tuesday. So the application, we can file an application all the way up to November 30th.
Okay, okay. So if it got on our next agenda, because it's 30 days, right, for ordinances to take effect?
Oh, to take effect. Yes, is this the effective time?
This is the application.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm asking, like, if we pass it, they won't be in effect for 30 days, would we still be eligible for the November one?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, just the fact that we've
wanna clarify.
updated it, and then, we'll move forward with that.
But I have a lot of questions about that, because, basically, you're wanting to ban guys from smoking cigars at a golf course. Westwood.
I thought they already were banned. You can't smoke at Westwood, can you?
You can on the course, because it's outside.
What are they? They're not hurting anybody. They're not bothering anybody. That is their choice. They're out there by themselves. You're not even in crowds of people out there. And guys that play golf, you know what they do? They love to smoke cigars. They like to drink beer.
Right.
Why are we going to interfere with their activities?
Well, we have talked to employees, we've talked to staff members who have also talked to Westwood golf course users, which I will address here in a couple of slides. So just a little more of a breakdown on the incentive grant. So I have highlighted that Norman would be a large community, and so Norman has already been offered $50,000, so that would just give us the opportunity to be eligible for $100,000. In addition to the grant, TSET can provide these Breathe Easy signs for the updated policy to be placed around Norman. So a little bit of our history with this policy. So in 2015-2016, the Healthy Living Program team met with Mayor Rosenthal to discuss this policy. She had a couple of concerns that she asked us to collect data, and so they surveyed Westwood Golf Course, and the survey results indicated that those who had an opinion regarding smoking preferred it to not be allowed. They then continued to meet with Norman Parks and Rec Council Norman Parks and Council members over the years to gain support, but didn't try to pass policy again until 2019. The team met with Mayor Clark and attended Oversight Committee. Someone else presented on their behalf, but nothing came of it. And then myself and Allie Quillich presented at Oversight Committee in June of 2022 with survey results, policy suggestions, and benefits. Received positive feedback overall from the Oversight Committee, and they asked us to get more support from Westwood Golf Course. So in between June and September, we went out to Westwood and talked to employees and got some feedback from them. And then in September, I presented at the Board of Park Commissioners meeting with the survey results, policy suggestions, and the benefits, and received unanimous support and recommendation to move forward. Here are some direct quotes from anonymous golf course users and staff. It's pretty rare to see someone out there smoking. If anything, maybe there's 1 or 2 regulars, but that's about it. We actually had one of our guys quit smoking because he has COPD. I actually really hate the smell of cigarette smoke, so it would be great if they passed no smoking policy. I didn't even know that the golf course was one of the only city-owned properties where people could smoke. I did not realize you could vape or use tobacco products here. We want clean air. We value it. Here are some images. So you can't smoke near the clubhouse. You can only smoke on the greens. They do not sell any tobacco products, so they will not be losing any revenue. So next steps, present to City Council on all city-owned properties to be tobacco-free, write a model policy, apply for the healthy incentive grants for Norman to be eligible for $100,000. And thank you for your time.
Sarah, I know in June you presented, and one of the things that was a little concerning was the lack of survey results. And you had said you had gone back to Westwood. So were you able to get some additional results, or just be able to talk to staff at that point?
I just continued to kind of build that relationship with staff, just to, let them know that we're wanting to pass this policy and just to hear more about what they thought about it.
And then, Jason, I know you had also mentioned, can you give us kind of your input, since you're the Parks Director, of your thoughts on this with Westwood and the staff, and just kind of your overall goals or expectations?
Well, we don't think that this would have an overall effect on our revenue or cause any golfers to go somewhere else. It's very few golfers actually smoke or use cigars or vape or anything on the course. It's very minimal, and we were very, we asked the golf pro to communicate to as many as he can, and the feedback he got was all positive about making it non-smoking. He didn't get anything negative.
Okay. And because I know, like, when we were out there for the fundraiser, I don't recall seeing anyone smoking at all. That's why I was like, wait, what? You can smoke out there?
And if you talk to to go a little bit farther, our maintenance guys would, don't enjoy picking up cigarette butts and.
I get it. Fair enough. And then the other thing I know I had mentioned previously in June, like, I'm torn on this one because I feel like if it's my vehicle, you shouldn't be able to tell me what I can and can't do in my own vehicle. But granted, I'd be parking my vehicle on a city-owned property, so I have to figure out what's best for my community, and what my wants aren't necessarily what's best for the community. And I think it's best to have non-smoking in a golf course. So, especially if we got kids there.
I got a question. How big of a problem is this really? It doesn't sound like it's much out at the golf course. They might pick up some cigarette butts, but how big of a problem is it really, or are we taking steps just to get a grant?
I mean, don't we want our kids to not be affected by tobacco smoke? I mean, while you may not think that it's an everyday issue, I mean, kids with asthma will be on a park, kids with asthma will be on our golf courses, and those are the people that we want to focus on because they're the next generation. And
I'm sorry, those are lots of good words, and I get feelings of kids and stuff, but you're talking about limiting somebody's freedom of a legal product.
Norman is the last city to pass this. OKC already has, Moore already has, Edmond already has, Norman Regional, OU, Moore Norman Tech, Norman Public Schools. We shouldn't be behind all of those
It's
communities.
smoking in a parking lot. I don't see this. I see this as attacking a problem that doesn't exist only to get a federal grant.
But it does exist.
It's not, he's saying it's minimal anyway. Nobody's out there even doing it. So you're doing it
He
just
just
to.
said that his staff was having
They
struggle
have to
picking
pick up some cigarette butts. Okay, I get it, but he just said that it's minimal. Nobody's out there doing it.
So what's the problem with passing it? You know, it's like we're
Because if somebody does want to do it, I want to smoke a cigar on the golf course. My friends want to smoke cigars on the golf course. I must know all kinds of different golfers because that is usually one of the things that every one of them's doing is smoking a cigar and having some beers, especially during tournaments. And to limit that, I mean, go to any private club and you're just trying to set the example of the city, which it's more affordable than the private clubs. But you're limiting players like, oh, I can go there and I can have a cigar because I'm paying for it. It's just, if there's no need for it, there's no need for it. It's only to get a grant, and I'm not supporting moving this forward out of here.
Well, you're one of
Well, you-
5, so it doesn't
I'm not
matter.
supporting moving this forward out of here. If they want to do it, we're doing it.
it doesn't.
And with that, I'm moving on to the next agenda item.
I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that.
That isn't how
That is-
committees work.
Sorry. Helen still has to talk. She had her hand.
The chair
up.
doesn't get to overrule the whole majority of the
That's
committee.
not how this works, Kelly.
Not how I've ever experienced it.
I am moving on to the next agenda item.
Well,
I'll let you finish what you're going to say.
you have
That's the
4
end
out
the
of
discussion,
5
but
that would
there's no
like this
votes
to move
taken
forward.
anyways.
Correct, but 4 out
All
of
right.
5 want it to move forward.
Point
I would
of
assume.
Order. I'm recognizing Helen. Go ahead.
So I actually wasn't, I was present for the June meeting. And I know my predecessor had questions, and it sounds like you did a bunch of follow-up. Did you also hit up those junior leaguers, or what youth club goes out there? Are they a part of it?
Yeah, it's just junior golf clinics and things like that.
So they were polled as well?
We just asked the regular players during the day, mostly adults.
And then my other thought too, to go back to the public versus private, is public is generally for everybody, right?
Right.
Like we make it accessible for all. So if there is a private option that would let somebody smoke on their grounds, it's not being super unreasonable, right? I mean, like we're at the end of the day thinking of the entire public's interest.
Correct.
Okay, that's it.
So just to reiterate kind of what you're saying about the private golf course that's on OU, you guys have no control, or OU themselves though is saying we're not allowing that. But if it were a private golf course that weren't controlled by the city or OU or one of these entities, people would still be able to smoke on that. But I would also assume in those situations you wouldn't have kids on the golf course either, like we do in our city-owned golf course. So,
Correct.
yeah, so I think,
No, that's okay. I just want to, I guess, reiterate my support for moving this forward. I was here in June. I know that there's been considerable groundwork laid to get to this point, and so I appreciate you going back
Right.
to Westwood, communicating, getting more information. That's what we asked of you in June. So thank you for doing that and for bringing those, I guess, results or conversations back to kind of give some more credence to what we're trying to do. And I think that, you know, as you say, all of these other entities have passed this. And I do think that it is significant to be eligible for $100,000 in grant money. That's not chump change. That is important money that we could bring in to do projects in our parks and in our community. And so the more money that we can bring in while continuing to save lives and to you know, lessen the risks of individuals, I think those are all you know, positive things. I also want to, you know, apologize for the way that you've been treated just now. So please know that we value the work that you're doing, and thank you very much.
Jason, do you know what you plan on using that $100,000 for?
It would be if we got the grant or we were set the grant, we would open it up for public input on how and where we would use it in the park system. And obviously in one of the categories it's eligible. Anything from a walking trail to amenities at a park that would be good for this.
I mean, you got 4 people that are willing to push to saying move it forward out of 5, so there you go.
Do you think the whole council should be able to weigh in on what this, going forward with this? Or not?
Well, there's time to get it back. There's 2 different windows. Right now, I do not want to move it forward and try to push this through. I want to look at it more.
You're 1 of 4.
And
of
as
5.
chair, that's what I'm saying is the official
That's not
position.
how that works.
That is how that works.
No, it's not.
Can we get a
Can we get a ruling?
thing about this?
That is how I'm moving forward. This is my meeting to chair.
Beth, can you
That is
please
what I'm saying.
explain the city ordinance and ground rules for people that don't maybe understand how this works?
Chair recognized me to respond.
Yes, go ahead.
So as far as the procedure of the meeting, the chair does control the flow of the conversation. Typically, we've had the presentation. As far as what we're here to do, it's to communicate, it's to talk about the committee's views on it. I'm unaware of a policy that it's based on a chair direction to move it forward. I think my understanding of the policy is that we do generally gather support for moving it forward for a full council to discussion. I don't think that's anything we have in writing, so I do think I'm speaking about general spirit of the policy kind of things right now, but I can get more direct information if we think we need that.
Apparently we do, because we've got 4 out of 5
You're not
who would like to
recognized
see
right
this move
now.
forward. I don't care, Kelly. I
You're
don't
not
care.
recognized right now. Please have some decorum in the meeting.
Really?
Yes.
You're the last person that needs to talk
Please
about
have some
decorum.
decorum in the meeting. You're not recognized. At this time, the discussion with this is done, and we're moving on to agenda item 2. Thank you.
Agenda item 1.
Or agenda item 1, the second issue, agenda item 1, since we went out of order, discussion regarding zoning for city parks.
All right. Handing out a little bit of, not sure if this got into the packet. I sent it after hours on Tuesday before a council meeting started, so I apologize. I got it in a little bit late to our city clerk's office. The, through the process of we're opening a new park called Bentley Park in the Belladonna and Summit Valley neighborhoods. We realized we were trying to make an attempt to make sure that was properly zoned, and then in that process of looking for that zoning, we realized that there is over 30 parks. There's not zoned parkland. A lot of them are zoned different things like residential. Some of them are agricultural. Just a variety of different things, and so the discussion came up among staff between planning and parks. We do think that it's important to move these on to get zoned properly. Like I said, we have over 30 parks. It's not zoned parkland. Part of moving forward with this would be to properly define and expand what parkland is defined in our ordinance codes. It doesn't have very much information in it. This use permits right now is public park, open space, recreational areas, agricultural crops, or grazing of animals. In the process of redefining that, we'll probably add some things in there to describe buildings such as the rec centers or community centers, cultural centers, make sure that those are defined, that we can get that added. Question is, why would we do this? We just want to make sure that environmentally that our parks are protected. Some of the areas, if you have a housing abutted up next to a park that is zoned residential, sometimes when that can get appraised, it would not get appraised properly because it looks like you could get something else built behind your house. We want to make sure that when all these appraisals happen, no matter if it's commercial or residential property, that a park does not have any effect on how property is appraised. Also, we want to make sure that we preserve our green spaces and recreational areas. If we move forward with this, there's so many parks that we would probably divide this up into 5 different sections. We do have to follow all the zoning ordinances, make sure that we put out public notice, and anybody that's next to a park or a recreational area, we will have to contact the owner of those properties. So we would propose that we do this in 5 sections. First, we would hit our new parks and community parks. Then we would, the second part of it, we would go to the sections of town, northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest. There's just so many. And then finally, just because that we feel like as we're defining this, we want to make sure that we get it right, but our cultural centers and recreation centers would be the last ones we would hit. If people don't know that things like the Historical House, Sooner Theater, the Depot, those are all technically parks. We want to make sure that we define that and protect those cultural areas as well when we go through this rezoning exercise. I'm not sure if I hit it all. Me and Jane kind of discussed this a little bit earlier this week. Want to make sure that we check all the boxes. That's basically it on presentation.
What's the difference between, because you said you want to make sure that they're all either marked park or historical. I mean, obviously I know the difference, but on here, are you going to be, are these all going to go to park or are you separating them out? Because like,
So we would rezone everything as parkland. Part of expanding our definition would be of parkland, which we have it right here. And that's 49.2 of the zoning ordinances. Is this expanding the definition of what is parkland?
so that's where you're saying it can
Yes.
include historical, and
Correct.
that's why we're going to dub Sooner Theater
Yes.
a parkland thing, but it's because it's a historical building.
Correct.
Okay,
Is that-
thank you.
Correct, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what, so moving forward with the zoning, how, are all of the new parks being zoned, like within, like when they're created as parkland? And like, how do we mitigate something like this in the future where we have to do a whole kind of catch-all?
And this is kind of what brought that up is,
Yeah.
one part of our norm forward is we're bringing in so many new parks. And our first new park that we're bringing in, neighborhood park, is Bentley Park, which is connected to that neighborhood park. It is zoned, where is that? It's zoned residential R1. So that would be part of that process. And Jane might be able to hit that a little bit better than I can, but when we're platting and getting those parks ready, we would make sure that from now on that those were properly zoned.
Would be incorporated into a plating or into a, you know, site plan or whatever that looks like, yeah. Okay.
Typically, when our preliminary plats come forward, these are designated as open space. While the zoning is PL, again, the loose definition that we've got in the zoning ordinance, we just think it's important to be consistent all the way across. So as we move forward now, we'll make sure we get those boxes checked.
Okay.
One of the things I do want to point out too is, and I think this is what we discussed, and we're still on the same page on this, Jason, but the PUDs, we're going to leave
Yes.
those as PUDs. We're not going to go back in and touch any of the parkland that is in a PUD, because to re-notify a PUD would be a huge task. And I think it's already covered in the PUD narrative that you guys have already adopted.
And to add on to that, there's some of the areas that we lease, Monroe Park, the Griffins, Francis Kate, those are leased. So, and very simply put it, the way I was told you, to rezone it, you have to own it. So we won't be able to zone those ones that we lease.
Which ones are those again?
Griffin Park, Sutton Wilderness, parts of Sutton Wilderness. We do own, we ended up buying some property not too long that it's part of Sutton Wilderness now, Francis Cave, and Monroe Park. Monroe is actually leased from Norman Public Schools.
Okay, so there's, yeah, like 4 that are PUD on here. But as you said, I mean, that's a specific zoning, and so they've probably tailored the uses to what they're using, yeah. Mhm. Okay. How long do you anticipate? All of the steps and all of the, like, how many items are gonna have to come forward?
And it depends probably how the city attorney lets us bring them up as items, but best case scenario, we think this could take a year. Worst case, probably 18 months to redo. It's gonna take some time. And how we bring them in items, or would they have to each be their own individual item as we bring them forward?
So, yes, they have their own ordinance number.
I believe so, because each individual property, I think Jane's right,
would have to have an individual ordinance number. It would be separate.
So there would be if we can time it up correctly at a certain council meeting on a certain date, we can knock out 10, and they'd all hopefully be on the same agenda item if we're good.
So what I was understanding
We're
too,
on
that
the same-
they all have to go through the whole zoning process, right? So notice, planning commission, us, so, yeah, okay. So that's gonna that by itself will take a kind of a load of time.
We will fully follow
Yeah.
all of our ordinances as we rezone these.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it just makes sense to clean everything up and make sure that
Right.
everything, especially as we're moving into doing our new comp plan and, thinking about what that all is gonna look like for the future and then cleaning it up for any future zoning so that, we're good.
We agree, and
Yeah.
to the, just making sure that staff and councils, generations down from us, I mean, just recognize that these parks, state parklands, and, especially on land dedication, just for example, if you go to Highland Village, which is my neighborhood park, that is, by ordinance, that is dedicated to the city as parkland, and it's zoned residential. So we need to make sure that we clean that up, and too, that a future generation, you can't get a park director in here, 10 park directors for me that wants to sell off a piece of parkland.
Thank you.
Councilmember Grant?
So, I guess roughly 3 questions. Are all the wards correct? Just because we had all that boundary movement, but
Bethany actually, she's our new park planner, so she went through there and punched in all the zones. So
Okay,
we're using the new zoning maps or the old one?
Yeah, from September, 19th?
Oh, so they might not be fully updated with the ones that,
The ward.
that,
Yeah, I think for the wards, I think it was September 19th, 2022, posted on.
Okay,
on
there we
the
go.
website, what's the
Okay,
ward
good.
map I use.
And that
Oh,
should be
I mean,
so it's not
Westwood
updated yet?
Well, Westwood is located in Ward 2 now and it's correct on
Oh,
this.
then-
okay, then it.
So that's a
I
major
didn't
one that
realize
I
that
know
was
I could look
updated
at.
yet.
I
Yeah.
think it is correct.
Yeah.
Yay.
I mean, of course, we'll double check.
have there been examples where not having this tightened up has caused problems for y'all? Just out of curiosity.
Not for us as a city, and we have to probably dive into probably what it looks like nationally. The scenario where you have a neighborhood park and your house is next to it, that's where I got the information about appraisals going awry, because you have a residential space and it's actually a park behind you, and you have an appraiser that doesn't know the area, then it could have effect overall on your land value.
Based on like what they can actually do in that part.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and if you go back and look at our National Recreation and Parks Association, they have plenty of studies that any property that's next to a park actually brings up the value of the property.
And will these be done like in batches through planning, do you think? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We're planning on 5 of them. So the first one we're gonna knock out, if you look at Andrews, which is amazing to me because it's our oldest park. Well, not technically our oldest park, but it's our oldest community park. It's zoned residential. So, I mean, we're gonna go through there and knock out our community parks, and Bentley Park, which is gonna be our newest park, which should come online in '23, and it's zoned as residential as well. We're gonna knock out all our neighborhood community parks along with Bentley Park that first go around.
5 rounds of planning commission for each of those sections.
Yes,
Okay.
and probably a little break in the middle because it's gonna be a
Slow.
yeah, it's gonna be difficult.
Right, well, and I think just to add, I mean, if for some strange reason we ended up with 8 planning commission items or something one month, I mean, I think we'd probably say, can we bump yours to the next month, so we aren't end up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't can't anticipate a situation, but a person that lives next to a park can come up and protest. I mean, if they're going to have that opportunity.
If I could just say, I think that's what you guys are gonna deal with the most, because when the property owners get that notification, I mean, it's change, and it's gonna scare them initially until they can really understand that we're not going in and taking the park away. or we're not gonna make any changes, but they get that initial letter from the city of Norman and it's, oh my gosh, you're going to change something, so.
Could we be doing some good groundwork on the communications issue?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, obviously, as council members, we'll be doing our best,
But we need to do that, yeah.
Any further questions? Anybody? All right, seeing no further questions, this meeting is adjourned.
to do it. We actually had federal money available to purchase it at that point, and it was turned down.
And there is a lot of concern about that, and it's about how you use the tools you have, right? So most all of us carry rifles for obvious reasons that we have to, but they're not being used in an offensive manner unless we're defending ourselves